In this video, I'm going to talk about two quick topics. The first is how to find out which courses count for the different science general education requirements at UNC Charlotte. And the second point is how to read the schedule for courses that have a lab section. And so some of your science courses will have labs, some of them won't. And some courses that you wouldn't think of as technically science might have a lab section. So I'm going to cover both of these ideas in the same video. First, let's think about what courses count for the science general education requirements at UNC Charlotte. To find this information, you can find it in a couple different places. One place is on DegreeWorks. If you haven't already met the requirement, it will list out all of the options. The other place is at the course catalog. And so you can go to catalog.charlotte.edu and you can click on either the current catalog, or if you are on a different catalog year than the current catalog. So let's say you are looking for courses that are offered in fall 2022, but you joined UNC Charlotte for the first time in fall 2020. Then you might be on the fall 2020 catalog and you might want to look at the catalog that is specific to the requirements for your catalog year. So you would look under previous catalogs and then click the catalogs and find the year. But if you're on the current catalog year, then you can click on the current catalog year and click General Education Requirements. And for the science portion specifically, you want to scroll down to Inquiry in the Sciences, and there are two requirements here. There is natural science with a lab and natural science with or without a lab. So you must take one with a lab component, and the other one, you don't have to take the lab that's associated with it, or there may not even be a lab associated with it, and that's okay. So, for example, Anthropology 2141 has two things you'll have to register for if you want to get the science with a lab credit: a 4-credit lecture and a 0-credit lab. Bioinformatics offers an introductory course that is just one thing you register for, and it includes both the lecture and the lab. Biology 1110 has two things you would have to register for to get the lab credit: a 3-credit lecture and a 1-credit lab. There are a couple different models used throughout the university. You'll want to be careful and make sure that you are registering for what you need to fulfill the general education requirement that you're trying to fulfill. If you aren't sure, you can certainly ask your academic advisor. If you already have fulfilled the lab requirement, or if you're not ready to take a lab science yet, you just want to take a non-lab science, your options are you can just take the lecture portion of any of these courses that have them separate. Some of them are not separate. But if it's separate, you could just register for the lecture portion, and then that will satisfy one of your natural science requirements. But remember that you have to take one with a lab at some point before you graduate. Suppose I want to take general chemistry for my lab science requirement. I am going to look up and see that it has prerequisites of college algebra or Chem 1200. So if I have a math placement level that puts me above Math 1100, I could enroll in this course. Or if I do not have the appropriate math placement level, I can take Chem 1200 instead, which is fundamentals in chemistry, and that does not have an associated lab, so I could take that for my non-lab science. Let's say I meet the prerequisites and I want to enroll in Gen Chemistry 1. So I will look up Chem 1251. Looks like there are some sections with no seats available. The C means closed. But there are plenty of sections with seats open. So let's try to decipher what all of these different timings mean. I'm going to click on the CRN to try and figure out why there's more than one thing listed here, because that is not something we've seen with other courses. This is one thing that makes some of these lab courses unique. So this section of general chemistry has 3 days a week of lecture, and it has 1 day a week of quiz. So this is like small group working on problems and practicing with the course materials. And all of this is fitting into the 3 credits for Chem 1251. If we also want to get the lab credit, then we'll have to enroll in the general chemistry Chem 1251, one of these sections. And then we'll also have to enroll in one of the 1251L sections, which is 1251 lab. And those are only 1 credit, and they meet once per week. So you won't be able to enroll in this lab section with that section 1 because the lab is at exactly the same time as the lecture, and you can't be in 2 places at once. But you could go for a Thursday morning lab. If you're a morning person and you want to do your lectures 3 days a week at 8 a.m. and your lab 1 day a week, you could check both of these boxes and add them to your schedule. And so then you would have your lecture and your lab. As we said earlier in the video, this isn't the only model for how lab courses might be set up. There might be only one thing to register for to get all 4 credits, or there might be other structures of lecture time versus lab time. So let's just search for one more course. At UNC Charlotte, the Introduction to Computer Science course, ITSC 1212, is not a lab course that counts for the lab science general education requirement, but it is a course that happens to have a lab component. So if I look at sections for this, you will notice that it is a 4-credit course with 3 days a week of lecture and 1 day a week of lab. And we can see that by clicking on the course and seeing, well, here it's listed as lecture/lab, but the 3 days a week are lecture and the other day is lab. So here the lab section is built in to a single listing on the course schedule. So there are different ways of listing these kinds of lab courses in the course schedule. It can get a little confusing, so if you're looking at something and you're not sure, did I register for everything I need for this course, definitely reach out to an advisor and we'll be happy to help you.